Welcome, everyone. We are back on the Italian Heritage Month interviews. I have Chantel with me today, who has an awesome story. She's a company on Italian on tour. She co-founded it with her husband, Giovanni, and she's going to talk a little bit about Italian tourism, more on the northern side of Italy. So I'm really excited to introduce her. She's an amazing woman. She's an amazing story. So Chantel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lorenzo. I'm really excited to share with you our little slice of Italy, and I hope your guests love it.
You have a really awesome story, and before we get into it, I always like to start these interviews with just your favorite memory of Italy. And I'm sure you have so many because you moved there. You're Italian Canadian, right? You're from Canada. You moved to Italy. So we'll start off with that. Tell me one of your favorite memories. I'm sure you have so many because you've been living there for a while now.
I think for us, at least for Giovanni and I, our favorite memory is getting married in Italy. And for us, it's because it was that moment where we got to share our Italy with all of our friends and family, and having our friends and family come from Canada, from England, from the States, from all over the world, and having them come together and really experiencing Italy and sharing that with them. That was just a really special moment. And at the same time, celebrating our love and with the family. I think you probably know just as well as I know, Italians, family is everything. So that was really the best moment for us.
Where are you located now? Because I want you, one of the things that really drew me to you, right? Is when I first started following you on Instagram, I was like, wow, like this girl's got like that small town culture feel, which I always loved and I always held on to, because coming from a small town, on the countryside of Naples, I was like, every time you see a lot of these, tourism type businesses are usually in the main cities. So when I saw your page, I was so drawn to it because you do like this small town experience, which I just so much love. And I was so much drawn to. So where are you from? Like, tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that was like what differentiates you from a lot of the other people out there.
Absolutely. In our region is called Le Marche, which means the borders, because we're bordered by Tuscany, Emilia-Romagna, Abruzzo, and Umbria. So we're 3 hours east of Rome. So we're in between the Sibillini Mountain, the mountain range that runs through Italy, and the Adriatic coast. So literally, like where we're situated, our hometown is Ascoli, which is older than Rome. We're about 15-minute drive to truffle country and half an hour drive to the Adriatic Sea. So we're in this really great location for experiencing a very diverse Italy in terms of culture and cuisine. Le Marche is known as Italy wrapped up into one region, because you can come here and enjoy an afternoon visiting the winery, sipping vino rosso on the terrazza, and then in the evening you can go to be by the sea and enjoy seafood on the Adriatic coast, or you can drive inland and you can go have truffles when it's truffle season. So we really have this great, like a little bit of Italy for everyone, and we really try to put that in to all of our tours to give people like a very well-rounded experience of Italy. Because for us, like you're saying, like the small town feel, for me, travel, and after like backpacking around Europe by myself for 6 months when I was 18, that was an adventure. For me, 6 months of travel, I didn't remember the sights, but I remembered the experiences and the connections I had with the people. And that's really what we've captured in our tours. And for me, when you travel, you don't really I personally don't really remember the moment I saw the Colosseum. I know I saw it, but I don't remember because I don't have someone or something to connect it to. And so really what we do is we try to give you an authentic Italian experience, and we try to translate the Italian experience for you so that you get to really experience Italy instead of just seeing Italy. I think that's so much more, and especially nowadays, most people, at least like in Canada, where I'm originally from, We have 2 weeks to 3 weeks vacation. You want your vacation to be more than just running around Italy, checking off the sites, and then feeling exhausted. You want to really experience a place, and that's, that's really what we love doing here. And in Limache, we are able to do that, especially because there's not a lot of English speaking tourism here. So you're
Okay.
not worrying about all these crowds, and you're immersed in the local scene. So
There's so
that's
much. There's so many beautiful places up there. I mean, I love it up in the
absolutely.
northern Italy. One of my favorite trips was going through more of the north. I passed through La Marca. I never really stayed there.
Yes.
It's a place I definitely want to come visit next time. So when we did like a little culinary tour. We organized ourselves. So I got two cousins that are chefs, and one of them
Oh, very nice.
we used all like the purveyors. So we went to we were in Savigno, which is in Emilia Romagna, Bologna. We went
Yep.
to we went to Osteria Francescana.
Oh,
We
very
went
nice.
to Piazza Duomo for it was during the truffle festival with the Piazza Duomo. So we
Yep.
were in Alba. So we did like a whole like kind of we went like above Rome,
Yeah.
and you got a lot of just amazing stuff in that area. Like it's just
Oh,
incredible. Like,
absolutely. We do. And this is the
but
thing,
what's
like,
local to La Marca? Like what's like a local La Marca, like
well,
either the wine or food?
for wine and food, okay, so for me, every region's kind of like its own country. So if we're
Yeah.
going to talk about our area, which is Ascoli Piceno, we're famous for olive ascolane. They're like
Okay.
this fried stuffed olives.
Mhm.
That's our specialty here. We're also famous for pecorino wine. And when you join us on tour, we actually take you to the original purveyor of pecorino wine. So pecorino is known as a red dressed in white. So it's a very versatile wine. You can have it with fish or you can have it with
Mm.
meat. That's very typical to our area here. We also have some other ones that are much lesser known by people abroad, which would be Passarina, Rosso Piceno. There's quite a few that we have. I mean,
But that's what I
Italy is
mean.
super diverse and has so much
Mm.
variety when it comes to wine and food, but that's very typical to our area. And then to Ascoli in the province here, we are also known for Nero Pregiato, which is a type of black truffle, which is the winter black, would be the English sort of translation to that. It's the winter black. So you kind of see that come out right now. And actually, we're going to go eat some truffle this Sunday
coming
for
up.
our family Sunday lunch, because that's what you do when it's truffle season. And I'm just like, oh, it's time to go eat truffles. Let's go have truffles, which is really lovely. And actually this year, we introduced a new itinerary, which is all about truffles. So it's only offered in November because that's like the height of our truffle season here.
Yeah.
And we go with a truffle hunter who used to sell truffles to Jamie Oliver and Gordon Ramsay. Now he has his own agriturismo, which is like, I guess you'd say kind of like a country home where he makes, like he has his aunt who makes the pasta, and you go there and it has a beautiful view. It's in the middle of the Italian countryside. It's very typical, but it's a really cool experience because you get to go forage for truffles with him and his 3 truffle hunting dogs. So it's a lot of fun.
I want you to explain that a little bit. Like, I'm glad you mentioned it, because that was one of my next questions for you. Not everyone has been truffle hunting. I had the pleasure of doing it several times, and like it is such a cool experience.
It's so much fun.
So I want you to like give me like what's like the emotions that go through, because like I remember I quit and I never had a child, and when that dog is cutting, it's going through the dirt and everything, all of a sudden like they pull out the truffle. I feel like it's like a baby, just like, you know what I mean? It's so awesome. I want you to explain kind of how that process is.
Absolutely. So I think, like, for me, I see it as like this perfect synergy between man and his best friend. And so obviously the truffle hunter has to encourage the dogs to go for the truffles. And it's just this, amount of excitement and encouraging the dogs to go after it. And you're not sure where the truffles are. Now, if you're having the real deal, you don't really know if you're going to find truffles. So it's excitement to see if you're even going to get a truffle that day because it's not guaranteed. And so you take the dogs out, and the dogs, when they find it, they get so excited, and then the truffle hunter gets excited, and they start digging. But one thing that I should know is that you have to stop the dogs before they actually get to the truffle because they
Yep.
will eat it.
Or
So you have to
damage it.
get like stop them and then get the tools to dig it out, right?
They have that cool like stick thing, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I always say like every single truffle hunter looks like the crocodile Dundee of Italian men.
Yeah.
They got their little thing and they got their tool belt. Like every single truffle hunter I've ever met, that's how they look.
That's a great comparison. That is a great comparison. Like,
like every time I just think, yep, there's crocodile Dundee Italian style.
we had my favorite time that we went was for my first time. I went to they're a huge company now. Well, I mean, they were pretty big back then too. Savini Tartufi in Tuscany.
Okay.
So they had one of, I guess, like the most famous truffle hunting dogs, Giotto. So Giotto recently he retired. They had like a retirement video for him and everything.
Oh, that's so cute.
It had like the car had a big sign, Giotto on board.
Yeah. That's so cute.
But it was like,
I think dogs really become a part of your family, and especially when you work with them. Like I grew up where my mom had, with her second husband, my mom, not my dad, but they had a fishing boat, and we had Newfoundlanders because that's just the typical dog that you're going to have in the cold Canadian waters when you go fishing, and they really become part of your family. And working dogs, it's a very different relationship than the at-home pet. So I think it's really special.
Oh my God. I honestly, like, if for people who haven't experienced the truffle hunt, it is such like an experience.
It's so much fun. It's when I did it, like for the first time, I was like, I looked at Giovanni and I was like, okay, we have to put this on our tours. So what's really great about Le Marche is we virtually have truffles all year long. Now the expensive prestigious truffles, they have a short season. Yeah. So like October to January.
Go into that a little bit for anyone who doesn't know, like the seasons of the truffle, because there are different kinds and there are of different values as well.
Absolutely. So when you're looking at truffle, white is the most expensive. And so in Le Marche, the area of white is in this area town called Aquilania. That's where you'll find white truffle generally. So not too far from Urbino. Urbino was on this year's 52 places to visit, New York Times, because it's also the birthplace of Raphael. So for anybody who's interested in history, that's a great place to visit. And then there is black truffle, which is the winter black. In our area, it's called Nero Pregiato. So that one is the second most expensive. And then you have summer truffle, which is Tartufo estivo. And it doesn't really, I wouldn't say, like, it's not the kind of truffle that you would export. So Giovanni used to sell truffles, and we actually used to store them in our fridge when we were in Canada. So the truffle season we would get truffles for is like November, December, January, because those are the truffles that are more fragrant, and more fragrant generally means more expensive. And also bigger, right? So the bigger the truffle, the more fragrant it generally is, and that also drives up the price. So I do have to say though, there's a difference, obviously here we're very lucky, like we have the truffles year round because the summer truffle is basically from May to like the beginning of October. And so we're able to do the experience of the truffle tour. Summer truffles are good if you eat them fresh. They really need to be fresh. They're not the kind you want to export though.
That was my next question. Was people don't realize that's one thing about Italy, and it's really anywhere in the world for the most part, depending on certain products that you get. When you have it fresh, it's just a whole other experience. And
absolutely,
I feel like truffles have really gained a lot of momentum. It's a luxury product. It's expensive. It's like kind of got this allure to it. But the one thing that's really big about it is the freshness. And once you put that thing in a jar and bring it over the plane, and then it sits outside, and it has a completely different touch, smell, taste, everything. Like it just, it's
Absolutely.
almost like just minimalizes it.
Absolutely. So like if you're gonna eat truffle, I mean the best, if you really want the best experience, you need to be here. And it's definitely, it's completely different because if you think about it, our senses, taste is so much linked to smell. So the fact that truffles are more fragrant, which makes it more flavorful. So personally, like I only eat fresh truffles and I only eat them when they're in season. And actually, I take that sort of, and I think most Italians take that all to cuisine in general and cooking here, is they do eat mostly in season. So like right now we see a lot of zucca, pumpkin, and it's a little different than it's not like when we think pumpkin, it's not Halloween pumpkin, it's like the Cinderella pumpkin. That's the
Yeah.
most typical one you'll find around here. We do have all the other varieties as well, but that's the most typical that you'll find. And you'll find like crema di zucca, gnocchi con zucca, like that's the kind of
A lot of
stuff that you start
risottos
to
with
see.
zucca, right?
Yeah,
But,
ravioli with zucca, like
mm-hmm.
that's what you see this time of year. And then also porcini, which comes out in September, and we still obviously have that right now. And right now is also when we get all the chestnuts.
Yes.
So that's like, those are very seasonal things that you can have right now. And you'll see that in Italy on the menu. And so that's one thing. Like, I think when I look at menus, for example, in Canada, and I go back, or even in the States, it's the same all year long. A lot of the times, there's a lot of places like that, or it doesn't change that often. Here, they change monthly. And it's always about what's in season, what's fresh. And I think, you always have to be inspired constantly as a chef. And that's also really cool to see because the chefs get really creative here because it's always changing what's available. And that's something I really, really appreciate
Chantel,
living here is
it's a lot of work doing that. So a lot of people, if they're trying to
absolutely.
grow businesses, that's like I guess the Western mentality, which kind of stinks in certain ways, and where
Yeah.
there are like the few places that do it, where they keep it small and they constantly change and they're on top of it. Like you
Yeah.
usually see them being like more on the upper echelon of restaurants here, but in Italy it's so common. That's the beauty
In
of
Italy, that's just the way it is,
it.
and that's what I love. Like, if you see something where it's like all standard, that's really like, okay, that's touristy. That's a red flag. If you see the standard sort of everything the same on the menu, that's a red flag. I mean, besides pasta, like, for example, I mean, you go to Rome, of course you're going to eat pasta amatriciana. And we also eat it here. It's very typical here because amatrice, where it's from, is actually, it's probably closer to Ascoli than Rome. I'd have to look at it on the map. But it's a typical pasta dish here as well. But that's tomatoes, and you have crunchy guanciale. So, those are things that are preserved. So that's a different, that's kind of stuff you can see all the time. But when it comes to the same vegetables, like I'll go to this place that I love, where they specialize in truffles. And, you can't always be sure that the vegetables you want to have are going to be there because it's not in season. So like we have a lot of people eat a lot of wilted sauteed greens, but we have different ones. We have one called bietole, which is like Swiss chard. We have chicoria, which is kind of more bitter green. And you kind of like learn about this when you move here and you explore and you try different things because not everything you want is always there.
And that's a good. So how long have you been living in Italy? And you want to say like, definitely, how is that? A lot of people they have this idea. I want to move to Italy. I get it all the time. I get messages. I want to move to Italy. I don't know what I want to do there. How am I going to work there? This and that. Like, talk to me a little bit about that, and then I want to go back into your business and like tell people a little bit more about that and stuff. Like
Sure.
really.
Absolutely. So I moved like just shy of 31 on Halloween. We left Canada. So
cool.
on Halloween, it'll be 5 years since we left Canada.
Giovanni was with you in Canada?
Giovanni, pardon?
Giovanni was with you in Canada?
Yeah, so that's actually how Giovanni and I met. We met when we were in university. Giovanni actually studied, he came to the US when he was 15, and he went to boarding school at Knox School on Long Island.
Really?
So that's where he was originally. His sister's still in California. So he was there for many years, and then he ended up coming to university in Victoria, and that's how we met. So we lived in Victoria and then Vancouver before, you know, finally deciding after our wedding, like this was really what we want. We wanted to go back to Italy, and in all honesty, my family is Croatian and German. So Croatia, my grandfather actually spent 6 months in an internment camp before he immigrated to Canada in Naples. So, you know, I think like you grow up with that kind of really like family oriented, very much European mentality. You feel more at home in Italy, at least I do. And so I always knew I wanted to move here. But as with anything, I always say to people, there is no perfect place. There's just the perfect place for you. So I think if you're thinking about moving to Italy, you have to realize that vacationing and living there is very different. You know, you're going to have to deal with the bureaucratic rules and the system. But if you have the patience and your dream is Italy and your dream is to live here, then you make it happen. But you have to have, you know, realistic expectations that finding a job here is not easy. There are people who I would say teach English, but most people I find here are retirees. Actually, Le Marche is, according to Forbes, the top place to retire in Italy. I think it was in last year, because we have a really good, you know, we have great healthcare system. Housing is quite affordable.
Healthcare up there is very good up there.
Yeah,
you're right
it's
by
very
Bologna.
good
That's
here.
like,
And
like healthcare
so
capital.
people, you know, we have a good lifestyle. We have quite a few American expats here and they love it here. So I think you just have to be realistic. Are you retiring here, or you're coming here and you need a job? Because if you need a job, what I see is mostly a lot of expats become entrepreneurs. They create their own business, whether it's having a bed and breakfast. There's a lot of people who do that, but you also have to think about, you know, where the area that you're in, like in Le Marche, there's already tons of bed and breakfasts. So you'd have to do something maybe a little more special to bring people to where you are. And I always think, you know, you have to also realize that in Italy, if you're in a smaller town, life is going to cost less than being in a big city. Like we used to live in Vancouver. So those are things, you know, to consider when you're switching your life over. Like, you have to have a plan, but you also have to be realistic about adapting. I know that I didn't have to take a test or go through any of the loopholes to get my Italian residency because I'm German. So I'm an EU citizen.
Got it.
So yeah, so I didn't have to like go and, you know, become Italian, even though I can become Italian because I'm married to an Italian. But so for me, it was pretty easy in that respect. So I know that for some people, it takes quite a bit more. And then I believe there is a test you have to take to show your aptitude in Italian language and that sort of thing.
I just got my dual citizenship recently.
Oh, yay, that's awesome.
Well, not yet per se. I got it approved because all like that paperwork that you need to do and whatnot, the translations. It was a little easier for me because both my parents are born in Italy.
Okay.
And my mother didn't renounce her citizenship prior to me being born. So for me, it was like, of all the situations to do this, it was probably the easiest.
Yeah.
I think the only thing easier would be if my father didn't renounce his citizenship prior to me being born. So I got it approved. I waited almost 3 years for my appointment. I started this process like over 3 years ago. So I did
That's
the
crazy.
appointment during COVID. Actually, my appointment was April 29th or something like that, or April 30th.
Yeah.
April 20th, it was like something like that. And they, it was during COVID. So they said,
Yeah.
but they canceled it. And they said, we're going to get in touch with you. I did it over the phone. They called me,
Yeah.
spoke to some guy. It's approved. This was a few months ago. So now I got to wait another up to a maximum of 2 years to get my sister. So you're
Oh
talking
my
like,
goodness.
you're talking like almost 5 years. Almost 5 years. So
Well,
my
I've
goal
heard
now,
horror stories of like 7 years, 8 years for people. Like even my sister-in-law has to renew her Italian passport, and it's like crazy because she's not here, right? So it's just, it takes time. I'll have to be honest, to get my German citizenship, it took me 1 month.
yeah, other places are easy.
1 month. It was like so easy. I just went to the consulate, gave them like the marriage, my parents' marriage license, my dad's documents, and it was done.
It's just it's symbolistic to Italy and the bureaucracy that it is. It just things just take longer. It's just it's like symbolism,
just give
right?
an example. Germany 1 month, Italy 7 years.
Germany's just got it together. Germany just has it together. It's just how it is.
They're very organized. Yeah. So I mean, for me, my husband always says for many things I'm more Italian than him, but I do like things organized, and that's one reason. Like, I do like vacationing in the Dolomites, which is really close to Germany, because they're super organized, but the food is delicious and amazing because it's Italian.
You were just there, and those pictures and the videos were like incredible. I think.
Thank you.
I have a family in Torino, so whenever I go up north, I'm more closer to over there. But I've never been to that. I've never headed more in that direction, and I want to. It is so nice. It is really is so freaking cute.
It's fantastic. It's actually where we honeymooned.
Okay.
We honeymooned in the Dolomites because we had come from Canada to Ascoli. We were like, well, we're not going to go to like the Maldives, like all the Italians do. They go to normally a tropical place, our friends. And so I was just like, sweetie, I just want to go relax in the mountains and eat good food and hike and be outdoors. And that was what we did. And it was perfect. Just relaxing. And normally, like, I recommend, if you go to the Dolomites, the area called Alta Badia is really, really lovely. It's beautiful. Whether you stay, like, my favorite places are San Cassiano and Corvara. Corvara is right in front of the Sassonger mountain, so it's like spectacular. And then the valley where San Cassiano is super lovely. And if you're a foodie, it has, like, in the vicinity, it's like 3-star Michelin. There's one of the 3-star, and then there's 3 restaurants that have Michelin stars. It's very high concentration of Michelin starred restaurants in the whole area there.
Very cool.
So for people who are really into that, that's great. I mean, there's hiking, there's biking, road biking, mountain biking. I mean, in the winter, you have all the winter sports. And
it's a different animal heading up there. It's a whole different animal up there versus like other parts of Italy.
It's completely different. That's why I say Italy's so diverse, right? Like, you have Le Marche, which is kind of like a mix of, you know, we have mountains, we have wine country, we have truffle country, we have gorgeous sea line coast. I know everybody knows Amalfi, but if you're looking to escape the crowds and experience something a little more like nature and rugged, then you've got to try the Coast of Conneron, which has beautiful hiking, hidden coves. It's stunning. It's absolutely amazing. It's more rustic in that sense that it's not like overly touristy. It's not really set up for big tourism. So that's you know.
I hit a woman last time I went to Positano in my car.
Oh wow!
I hit people everywhere. I mean, I wasn't going fast. I was going like 3 miles, 5 miles an hour. But I'm like driving, and all of a sudden this woman comes out of nowhere, pop! I'm like, oh my God, I just hit a woman.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. That's
So,
crazy. No, I mean, it's a beautiful place. I mean, I've spent time in Amalfi, Sorrento, Positano. I mean, everybody I think who loves Italy and goes there at least a few times in their life.
yeah.
But as I've seen all those places, I'm more drawn to where I can go where the Italians
And
are.
it's comfortable
And
too.
I'm
It's
more
comfortable.
drawn to
Yeah, I agree with
relaxing. I like to relax. I don't like to go through the crowds on my vacation. I want to eat where the locals eat. I want to taste the traditional cuisine. And for myself, even though I organize tours and design itineraries and host tours for a living,
you.
I do the same for myself. When I go, we just went to the Veneto region, and we'll be back there again because we are creating an itinerary for the Prosecco Hills and Venice, which I'm very excited about.
Which is totally I think you just think of Venice when you go there, and that's it. That's like the one stop, right? Just go to Venice, and then
Which is
you're
really
out.
unfortunate because
Venice
it's
is
such a
beautiful.
beautiful region.
Venice, I think Venice has to be one of the most romantic places in Italy.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
you do also got to go around it because there are some unbelievable parts. I actually did a little loop around when I was there.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like you have this time we had a really special trip. It connected kind of like when we went to the Dolomites this summer, we had this
Tell me about it.
amazing Prosecco.
Mhm.
So the place we stayed at, the son of the owner is the sommelier. And so he told us one of his clients, it's her Prosecco, because she had his Prosecco before. I was like, no, you need to have good Prosecco. So we actually got contacted by a local guide, because as I said before, we always work with local guides. And he said, if you ever come to the Veneto region, I'd love to show you around. And so we ended up planning a trip there. And we actually ended up meeting the owner of this really tiny winery in the Prosecco Hills. And it was just one of those, really the essence of like, it brought me back, especially this year where, we haven't had tours because of COVID, because our clients are American. So it's been, really hard not being on tour, because that's something that kind of lights up our life. We love sharing our Italy with people. So that moment in the Prosecco Hills kind of brought me back to like why we do this. It's all about, for us, like connecting you with the locals and with the story and the cuisine. And it was just that moment. We sat there with her. She opened the bottle of Prosecco. We were sitting in her little garden and sharing the story with her of how we discovered her wine. And it was just, that's really, for me, that's what travel is about. That's traveling deeper. That's the essence of traveling deeper. That's like why we travel, is to connect with the locals, to meet the people, to learn about their culture, why they do make the food they make, why they drink the wine they drink. For me, that's travel. That's Italy. Italy is full of those stories. You just need somebody there to translate the Italian experience. And that's exactly what we do for people. So it was really just, for me, that was just perfect. That was like, that made my September.
I love that. I love that. So now we're heading into 2021 soon.
Yeah.
I'm really realistically thinking by springtime, we're gonna go through this winter and whatnot. By springtime, even if there's no vaccine, I think there's going to be some sort. I think they just approved a drug the other day to like at least help relieve things. I think people are going to be able to go around a little bit more. I think tourism is going to open up somewhat. They're very much more strict in Italy than they are in other parts of the world, especially the United States for sure. I think we're a lot more lenient over here just with life in general to Italy. But so what are you looking forward into 2021? What's some plans or anything you want to talk about with people, anyone who listens to this?
So for 2021, mostly like what we're for September, we're almost actually all booked out. So I do have a feeling that people
very cool.
are really looking forward to the fall.
Yeah,
September and October are already quite full for us.
that's awesome.
We are working on our new Veneto region tour that we're going to go visit the Prosecco Hills, the areas that I talked about. And also we're going to do Venice, but Venice like off the beaten path with a local guide that we know. His name's Igor, and he grew up there, so he really knows the area really well. And so we'll be heading back there to finalize our itinerary, because that's something that we really want to do and we're very excited about.
Mhm.
And I'm also working on a travel guide community, like because for me during lockdown, I had a lot of people say, you should do travel guides. That's a great way while you can't be on tour to reach new clients and that sort of thing. But I always felt like, oh, I don't really want to do a PDF guide because things change all the time. And
Yeah.
I remember when I was backpacking, I literally, like my 6-month trip, I had like 4 of those big, like I had the Lonely Planet, the Rough Guides, like my backpack was so heavy. And like at the time I was like, oh, I need all this information. But you travel, the guide is like outdated, you go places and you discover they're not open. So what I realized is I wanted to create something that was live, where there would be changes, where people could give their feedback, where their members could connect with each other. So right now, I'm actually working on something called the Italy Travel Collective, which will be city guides, as well as it'll have different levels of membership. So city guides for select cities, which we will be growing in the future, because as we travel and we get to know always new places more deeply, we add them to our collective. So we're also doing it more like a membership, and there'll be a 1 year where people will have access to information all over Italy. Plus we'll be doing live Q&As so people can ask us their questions about travel. And so this is a project I am working on. And also I wanted to do something more than just like, oh, these are the best restaurants you should eat at, or these are the best hotels you should eat at. I also will be covering things like how to plan your Italian vacation, and so it's not stressful, and how to order coffee, or just like things about like the restaurants and those little nuances that you miss in a lot of guides. And I like for me, the biggest part is the real-time factor, that people can get
'Cause
updated and they can also
for
interact.
sure. Like the one thing I definitely would say is like you're there, shit happens all the time.
It's very true.
All the time. Like you're planning on, you have an appointment to go to like some place, you go there, like you don't know where the heck you're going. Like you walk in, you gotta like go because some places are big, they're not there, someone's there's always
Yeah,
something that happens. And just to have a
yeah,
safety net of like that live person to call and to be like, hey Chantel, like I'm at this place, there's no one here, I don't know where the heck I'm at, a gate, it's closed. uh, I remember we went to a balsamic vinegar spot, and like we were like across the street because the GPS still brought us over there. We're like walking around, we're like walking into doors, there's no one there. Like it always happens. It always happens. It's good to have that live.
absolutely. And I mean, even the stuff that companies put on their websites, because if you've looked at Italian websites, a lot of them don't function well, and it's not always the best way to get information.
Yeah.
But these things, they're not always what they say they are. And even we learn to navigate that with our tours, because even spots that say they're open, they're not open. And that's something like, as a traveler, you need to also have options in case something that you thought was open wasn't
Yeah.
open, that you wanted to visit. Like, what else can you
Sure.
do? So that's also why this is going to be hosted and you can like in an online community. So you have an app, so you can access it from your phone, from your computer. And so it's kind of like you have it real time. You don't have to worry about carrying anything around with you. You also don't have to worry about, whipping out a travel guidebook in front of the Trevi Fountain and looking like a tourist.
It's
But,
cool. I like that.
you know,
That's really cool.
so for me, that's like something I felt good about doing rather than creating just something that could be obsolete, because every year, also when we have our guests here, we give them like a guide to Ascoli. And I mean, after COVID, there's so many businesses that have gone out of business, unfortunately, and I can't recommend those places anymore. So, but there's also been new places that have opened as well. So, you know, things change.
So I personally truly believe that there will be a huge opportunity in after all of this in the tourism space in Italy. I think that if you're not reinventing yourself, if you're not adapting, and if you're
Yeah.
not changing and on top of it, you will that market share will be put in the hands of someone else. There will
Yeah.
be
I mean,
absolutely a transfer of market share in Italy for sure. And it's about who's going to take it, how you're going to do it. And I think you're in a good place where you're an English speaker there. You've been there for a while already. Your roots are already
yeah.
there. You do like these unique experiences that are not so much in the tourist area. I don't think people are going to want to go to these huge packed places as much. You're going to get more people who want to come out to these
Yeah.
lesser known regions.
I hope so. And I also, for me, I really hope that people will look to work more with smaller companies, especially because those people, you know, smaller companies are generally more connected to locals. They have a relationship with them. You know, we have a relationship with all the people that we take you. It's like going to see our friends, you know, and I also think it's really important to do your best to try and directly support the locals, as much as it's easy to go, I don't know, buy your tours from these big online tour
For sure.
operators. You know, it takes a big chunk from these small tour guides.
There's definitely a difference between going to get a coffee at at some random coffee shop or going to
Yeah.
Zia Maria Rosati's house and having a tazza cafe a hopeful soup. You know,
It's very, very true.
It is totally different experience. Totally
It's
different.
very true. It's very true. And I think that's like, I also think that's part of the essence of like Italian culture. People love, my grandfather's Croatian, but we're very much, it's Italian in this way. We like to.
I have some Croatian coming into the family now. My sister's getting is engaged. She's getting married to an awesome guy who's who's Croatian. Like he wasn't born there, but his family's all from there and stuff. And he's very in tune with the Croatian culture. They were talking about maybe getting married in Croatia. I don't think it's happened just because, like, obviously it just makes things a little more difficult. But we're definitely going to be heading over to Croatia at some point.
That's awesome. Well, you know, we're just a ferry ride away from Croatia. When my grandfather goes to Croatia, we just pick him up from Ancona. He takes the ferry from Split over to Ancona overnight. It's like super easy. So, you know, it's actually great for people when they come on tour with us. If they want to go to Croatia after, they just take the train to Ancona and then they go right over. Then you wake up and you're in Croatia.
That's cool.
It's super easy. And I personally like having traveled Croatia. It's really great experience, great food, really lovely people. I personally don't go to Dubrovnik anymore because it's a little touristy now. But there's so many other sites. Like you have to see Plitvice, which is the beautiful lakes. It's a UNESCO heritage site. It's stunning. Split is one of my favorite cities. It's like it's got Diocletian's Palace. And then it has like all these little shops in the old town. It's really, really beautiful as well. And there's
Venice is made on Croatian wood.
Pardon?
Venice is made on Croatian wood.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like that's how it stands up in the lagoon, right? It's all on wood.
I didn't know it was from Croatia.
And it's Croatian wood.
Very cool. I learned something new today.
So you got like you're holding up Venice. Your roots are holding up Venice. That's funny.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a great place to visit.
Chantel, is there anything you wanted to mention or close off in any sort of way? Because I know just like about business or is there anything that we left out that you wanted to mention?
think so. I think I talked a lot about, our experience here, but I would love to, if anybody wants to know about Art Italy and how to experience it, you can find us on Instagram at The Italian on Tour. That's where I kind of do, everything that's happening on a daily basis, what's happening in Italy right now. And if you're interested in traveling with us, you can go to our website, which is www.theitalianontour.com. And you can find our itineraries there and learn a bit more about us. And if you're really super interested, you can also just send me an email at Chantel@theitalianontour.com. And also right now we're on a giveaway that's got some great prizes, including a gift card towards our tours. So if it's okay with Lorenzo, I'll send you the link.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can share that with your audience.
For sure. Like, listen, you're real deal. You're the way that you handle yourself on Instagram definitely attracted me, and I was looking. I was like, this girl's awesome. She's doing the right thing. She's showing that small town essence, like, or that authentic feel, just comes from everything that you do. And
Thank you so much.
I definitely will put my name behind everything that you're doing over there. I think it looks great. It is great. And, anything that I could do to help, I'm more than happy to, for sure, we'll do this giveaway. And I'll attach all your links and everything. I really encourage everyone to follow over, because I think it's you're just doing awesome things, and it's just great to see the growth. And I'm really looking forward to see how you do now coming to the next year. And wishing the best, because it's kind of unfortunate, but everything happens for a reason. And I think, like I said, there's going to be a little transfer.
Absolutely. You just have to go forward and stay positive. And I always think being grateful for what you have and where you're at in your life, and just going with the flow, because life's a journey and you have lessons to learn along the way.
Awesome, Chantel. Listen, thank you so much for the conversation, and we will talk soon, okay?
You're so very welcome. Ciao.
I'll talk to you later. Ciao, ciao.